everybody?
Yo. What it is.
It is
what
the
it do.
tug of more.
Welcome back.
That's right.
Just a conversation between two friends.
That's right.
That are in ministry, working relationship together, talking about how we know there's great things on the horizon. We
That's
feel
right.
the tug towards more.
We got to keep fighting. We got to keep pushing. We got to keep tugging towards it.
But we are where we are.
That's right.
And we know where we want to get to. And it's a battle.
It is a battle. It's a tug and a fight and a tension. But we know that there is more. And so we're willing to keep fighting for it.
Man, it's hard though.
It is hard.
Because getting to where you want to be is a journey. It's a process. It takes some time.
It takes time. And I think that when you can see where you want to go, but you can't get there yet, it's frustrating.
Yeah. I think that a lot of people, they have this mentality that like, if it doesn't happen right now, I'm out.
Yeah. No. I don't want to do it anymore. Never mind. Hurry up. We talked about it on one of our last episodes. We used the phrase microwave mentality. But like we grew up, we're kids of the 80s and 90s, I guess.
Born in the 80s and I'm down with the ladies.
Yeah. And there you
go. I used to have a t-shirt that said that.
You did not.
I'm born in the 80s. I'm down with the ladies.
Of course you did.
It didn't work. It didn't work.
Did your mom throw it away?
Yeah, I think so, probably.
And so, but the microwave mentality, what I was going to say is we were kids of the 80s and 90s. Like microwaves were a part of our life growing up. You microwave stuff like...
I would have starved to death and died if it wasn't for the microwave. Yeah.
Popcorn, whatever it was that we reheated in the microwave, we had a microwave. And that is it's more instant than the oven. But it's also way less quality.
Yeah. It's never, the food coming out of the microwave is never as good as when it was originally cooked.
No, right.
Like, you use the microwave to reheat something that was already heated.
Like your pizza, the pizza is not near as good in the microwave than it was when it was delivered. But if you put it in the oven even and heated it back up, you get a toaster oven when you got married. We got a toaster oven.
Dude. We use a toaster oven like a champ.
The toaster oven even is way better than the microwave, but we want things instantly.
Yeah.
And the microwave this morning, I made some oatmeal in the microwave, and like you can heat it up quickly. It's an easy breakfast, like that's fast. And I think sometimes in life, that's what we want. We have this mentality that everything we want. Are you gonna sneeze? Oh gosh.
I'm trying to. Now it's stuck.
Oh no.
I wish I could microwave that sneeze out.
Microwave it out. And so we have this idea and this mentality in life that like we should get it instantly. Everything we want, it should come quickly. Even if we are like, I want to go into more. Okay, then let's get there. And why do we think that? And let's talk about how that hinders us and that it's not even that good.
Well, when we were just talking about patience.
Yeah.
And diligence and
faithfulness.
That when we get impatient and we hurry things along, it leads to other problems down the road. Have you ever met people that they just met someone and they start dating and they're like so head over heels in love that they're like, we're getting married.
Yeah.
And you're like, wait a minute. Just a minute.
Right.
Wait just a second. We've got interns that are a part of our ministry here at Living Church that are really highly involved.
And there's a few
and they'll come in and every single year this happens. They've known each other for 5 minutes and then now they're dating. Now they're holding hands. Now they're talking about wedding plans.
Oh man.
And I'm like, guys, seriously?
Right. You don't even know
what's her middle name?
Right.
Please do not be going to Zales looking at wedding rings if you haven't met her parents yet.
Let's none of us go to Zales. But
what's wrong with Zales?
I don't know. I'm just teasing.
Oh,
I just think but it's because they want to find it right now. They come in. They come to a church.
K Jewelers.
Okay, I'm just saying.
Every kiss begins with
your
K.
Carrots. You got to know all the C's. You got to know what's up. And sometimes Zales has it.
Robbins Brothers.
And Robbins Brothers is a whole nother level.
I went to Robbins Brothers.
Yeah, that's a good place.
But I had a family diamond.
Yeah, I know, because you fancy like that.
Favor.
No, you're a child of the 80s.
No.
Getting the ladies with a family diamond.
No, because I had a sketchy uncle. I had a sketchy uncle.
Was he sketchy?
I don't know where that diamond came from, but someone may or may not have died over it.
It's ridiculous.
All right, sorry, I've interrupted you. I drank a coffee, so I'm a little crunk.
No, so I don't know where we were. What were we saying?
About how people just jump into dating relationships.
What I think happens is they come here, they see great ministry, And then they see some great pastors who have some great marriages and some great families. And like, it's true though. Like,
most of the time.
Yeah. Except when we're arguing and stuff. That's fine. My husband and I, some days it's just hard. But they want what we have right now at 19.
Okay. This is really good.
And so they're like, let's just do it. You're cute. I'm cute. Let's go. Let's get married.
Yeah.
And they rush into things. I think it happens in life all the time.
Yeah.
Where you look at yourself. It's why we go into debt when we're young. Because we move out of our parents' house, and then we think we have to have everything we had in our parents' house.
We think that the house we grew up in is the same house that we should immediately live in.
Right.
But what we don't realize is that our parents, it took them 30 years or 20 years to accumulate the financial stability to live in that house. And so we go out and we're trying to flex.
Yeah.
And we want this house, we want the car, or the thing.
And it puts us in a tricky situation. But
so we go into deep debt.
Oh, man.
So that we can try to microwave it. We try to microwave it and go to the car dealership, and they'll give us 7 years of payments to get that car so we can try to look like we're there.
Right.
That's a microwave, man.
Yeah.
Drive a $3,000 beater for 2 years, save some money, then go get you a $10,000 car.
No.
Drive that for 5 years.
Right.
Then you can go and get your flex car.
No, like I remember we went to a restaurant, my husband and I, and we took home they had some of that good jalapeno mac and cheese.
Okay.
And we took it home, and then next day
Whitney.
What?
You can't reheat pastas.
I know, but this is what I did because it was so good.
No.
I wanted to do it and put it in the microwave, and it was just greasy.
Oily. All the oil separated from that cheese.
Oh, it's so gross. But that's what happens in our life, is that we microwave things. We think it looks so good. Oh, man, it was going to taste so good. It was going to look so good. It was going to be so good. And then we look at our bank account. We look at our debt income ratio. We look at all these things, and we realize, ooh, it's actually kind of gross. And I don't know how, but I want to help people today because we were talking about it. Like, yeah, it's taken us longer to get where we are now than where we even wanted it to be in our church right now where we're at. But what we've recognized is how sweet the journey has been and how much we've learned along the way, that if we would have jumped from where we are now 6 years ago immediately, we wouldn't have been ready for it.
Oh man, we couldn't have handled it.
Right.
And so I look now at what I have in my mind's eye, the vision of what we will be leading someday. But if God brought that immediate growth now, if we started having 10,000 people consistently attending Living Church every week, dude, our systems would not be able to handle that.
Yeah.
We would be in trouble.
Yeah.
Our boat would sink. Our nets would break. We would be in Bible reference. We would be in trouble.
Yeah.
And so like God stretches it out so that we're ready for the blessing.
No, it's true.
What's the saying that we underestimate we overestimate what God can do.
We overestimate what we can do in a short amount of time, but we underestimate what we can. Or is it backwards? In a long amount of time. I don't know, but
we're going to have to cut this.
No, it's not terrible. We overestimate
what we can do in a short amount of time.
And we
underestimate what we can do in a long amount of time.
Because the truth is, we think, oh man, I can get a whole lot done this year.
Right.
But then, are we really willing to dig in and get the work done that we could actually accomplish a ton in a longer amount of time if we just be diligent?
Well, there's all these people that are, they start businesses and they're like, I got the next idea. I'm going to be the next Mark Zuckerberg.
Right.
Like, okay.
Right.
I hope you do do that.
I hope you figure it out.
But like, if you remember, Mark Zuckerberg was in college for a long time, like doing the hustle, doing the grind before he actually became somebody.
Right.
And then those people that get fast forwarded are sometimes far and few between.
Right.
And so we can't look at the outlier and think that that's going to be our story. I can't tell you how many times I talk to people that feel like they're supposed to start a church.
Right.
They want to go and plant a church.
Right.
And they say, I'm about to be the next Stephen Furtick.
Okay.
And I'm like, okay, maybe.
Right.
Maybe you will start a church and have this big swell of influence and start running thousands of people in the first couple of years.
Yeah.
Maybe that will happen.
Right.
But maybe the other side is the crock pot.
Right.
It's not the microwave. Maybe you have to go to that city and serve for a decade before you actually have any major influence.
Right.
Maybe you need to go and you're going to be there for 5 years doing setup and tear down.
Right.
Maybe it's going to be slower than you think. And my concern for people, and kind of why we wanted to do this, is that we have that microwave mentality that like if it doesn't happen fast, I'm out.
I'm moving on.
I'm going to greener grass.
And we doubt ourselves if it's actually working. If like what we're doing is actually the right thing. And it's like, no, keep doing it. Keep being faithful. Faithfulness is just consistently showing up in the same place, doing the same thing consistently over and over again. And that feels boring and lame sometimes. But the only way to get to the fruit of it is to keep doing it.
I read my kids the Bible every night.
Yeah.
You don't know why? Because that's what it takes to actually teach it to them.
No.
Like, we want to turn our children into great people. And so we send them to a free VBS that a church offers for 3 days in the summer.
Right.
That's good.
Or like they go to high school and then we're hurry up and like we're like, get them in high school, get them in church now, get them to learn all the things, do the things. And it's like, no, we missed it.
No, man, the microwave mentality is dangerous. But if we can just know that it's a process and it's going to take time. The reason Rachel and I have a healthy relationship is because we've worked on it, not just like real intensely. I think there's a place for like the 3-day marriage retreat.
Oh, absolutely.
Like deep intensive. There's definitely a place for that.
Absolutely.
But what's more important is just like having a conversation every week.
Today, right?
Yeah, today. Just talking about it.
Well, the what you're talking about, the intensive type moments, those have to go alongside. They coincide with consistency. They go. It doesn't mean don't take a short class to learn something for the job that you're doing, or do a online training for something. It doesn't mean don't do that. It just means don't only do that. Don't only think, well, this will be enough to get me there. We're having to learn stuff every day. In order to keep growing into more. If we only use the information we learn in 1 minute, that won't get us very far.
For sure.
And so, I think so often we want it now and we want it the right way. And then we want to just change course if it doesn't work. And I look back over the last even 6 years and I see like some things that we did right and some things we did wrong. There were some people we hired too quickly because we thought they came from a bigger organization. They had more experience. They were going to be great. They were going to fill a need. And we just hired them thinking, oh, this will be perfect. It was a microwave moment that we chose. And they actually were a greasy, oily mess.
Man, developing things internally, it takes a lot more time.
A lot more time.
For us, we're committed to raising up sons and daughters in the house.
Right.
And that's sometimes slower. You know, it's
because they're younger and they haven't done it yet, and there's so many pieces they don't know, and it takes our energy to pour into them to build the right culture. And
but it tastes how you want it. It's healthier for you.
Come on,
there's more nutrients in the thing. It's not going to give you a stomach ache.
Right. It's true.
When you cook it at home and you take the time to make that meal, you're not going to get sick over it.
No.
You know whose hands were in it.
Right.
You know if you got some salmonella up in that bowl.
Right.
But when we just try to push it and try to work it out sometimes and hurry it along, you find other problems.
Just make a mess. No, it's true. It's so good.
We were at a C3 conference, Fellowship Church, Pastor Ed Young, and he told a story about how the church was really growing and like shifting and like great things were happening. And so they hired this outside guy to come in and they gave him like a ton of responsibility and a ton of stuff. And this guy had like an emotional need to always look like he had it together. And so he was handling some things and did it wrong and like set them back like a year on what they wanted to do and actually ended up, I don't think he embezzled money, but he like lied about it and reallocated it and put in some other things. They almost lost their whole like building project. Why? Because Ed said he was trying to make it faster. He was trying to hurry the thing along. And sometimes running too fast slows us down.
Yeah. And it's hard for people who are more people, because you and I, we want to run fast all the time. And a phrase we've said for the last at least 6 years is, this is a marathon, not a sprint. And we hate that. But the marathon does require more breaks of water, more nutrients along the way, more training ahead of time. Like the sprint is quick and it's fast and easy and done, but the marathon is it's long and it's consistent. And so like, do we want a flash in the pan Do we want to just make a difference for just a moment, or do we want to make a difference over a lifetime? And so in doing that, we've learned we have to bake it. We have to make it slow and steady. And because it's true, it culminates into what we're hoping for in the end.
It's so easy though now to jump ship.
Oh, there's so much opportunity. There's so much availability. There's something happening on the next street, and this thing, good grief, we can see so much and connect to so much.
Yeah. So like people will get a job somewhere and they'll work there for 6 months or for 8 months. And then they get a little dissatisfied with something and how they don't like it. And they just leave. Right. And it's not just ministry. I was just talking to a guy the other day who he had a great job.
Yeah.
But then he found this other thing that he thought was going to be a little bit better, and it paid just a tiny bit more. And so he moved.
Right.
Then he moved there, but he had no seniority, and then he got fired.
Yeah.
He got let go, and then now he lost his. But if he would have just stayed, he didn't pray about it. He didn't talk to God. He didn't seek counsel. Just left for tiny, minuscule amount more. And this is what we do sometimes. When I was in Bible college, a professor that I had, he was talking about student ministry. Mm-hmm. And he said, if you are a youth pastor at a church for a year, and then you leave and go to another church and you're there for a year, then you leave and go to another church and you're there for a year, and you do that for 5 years in a row, have you been a youth pastor 5 years, or you've only been a youth pastor 1 year 5 times?
Right.
And he's right. And what we do is we shortcut ourselves on our actual growth if we just keep hopscotching. Is that the leapfrogging, jumping around to other things? Yeah. Whereas if we could just stay somewhere and be consistent and take the punches and deal with the awkward things, and then we would actually be able to grow. But I'm scared, and I see it, man. I see it. I know that a lot of our Tugmore audiences are pastors. Yeah. And we're pastors, and so that's kind of what we talking. But I see this in people that will be a pastor somewhere, and they'll grow the church to a certain number, and then they'll get an offer to go to another church, and they'll go there, and they'll be there for a couple of years, and they'll leave there, and but then they're lonely, and their kids don't have any friends, and their wife has been dragged all over the country. And if we would have just stayed where we were, man, what can God do with faithfulness?
No, and but the same is true everywhere. For Aaron, in the world that he lives in, he manages airports. We moved to Texas almost 12 years ago now for him to have the job that he has, and he's been at the same place for those 12 years, but he's had a lot of offers along the way to go to other places. And when we go to conferences, he has one even coming up soon that will connect with other people. And man, the other airport leaders, the other engineers and architects that work in that field, they've gone to different companies so many times. And I was talking to a lady not long ago at one of them, and she was like, how have you guys just been in the same place? That's just unheard of. Yeah. And I was like, well, the truth is because he's just willing to be patient, and he's just willing to sit. I remember one job that was a really good opportunity that he thought would be great for him we're in Fort Worth, and it was over in the Dallas area, and he thought, I'm still keeping my family in the same place, but it'll probably build us into more. But the truth is now, it's what you said. We prayed about it, and he was like, it's not right. We need to stay where we are. And the truth is, where he is now is so much greater than where he would have been then. Yeah. But in that short-term moment, it felt like, well, if I just jump over here, I can get a little bit ahead. I can get a little bit further. But being still for the last 12 years, he's been able to develop and grow, and then financially grown, his responsibilities have grown, his job title has grown, all these things that we didn't really see. And I think what happens sometimes is, if he would have looked only at the available jobs, even in a city concept, not necessarily in a church concept, any concept, at the time there was not an availability for even the job he's doing now because it didn't exist. Right. But over the season, it's been created, it's been available, and that's where he stepped into. And so sometimes we just look at what we see, and we think, well, I don't see how it's possible. Yeah. And so we jump. And I know for you and I, both of us in this season where we are, if we would have asked ourselves 6-7 years ago, if we would have seen ourselves here, it wasn't available. We wouldn't have seen it. Yeah. But being faithful and patient allowed us to step into what God had. And so, we might not see it in our mind. It might look like, no matter how long I sit in this oven, I'm just going to dry out because I'm not going to actually cook up the way I'm supposed to.
Yeah.
But God knows what he's doing.
That's right.
And we have to be willing to sit and do it. And you and I have seen it so much with young leaders in our church too, that we're like, no, don't jump ship. And other people that we've pastored that, what you just said, that I wish more people could just learn to be faithful, be consistent, keep doing it, even when it's hard.
Yeah, we can't run for the next. If God tells you to go, go.
Right.
But if your feelings or your lack of patience tells you to go, don't go. We chase the sparkly thing.
We chase the sparkly thing.
And so there's always something that sparkles, man. There's always something that's real sparkly. I've had people try to hire me away from places, and they make it so sparkly.
Mm-hmm.
The job offer and the office and the influence and this and that, and they sparkle it up. But then when you really look at it,
right,
it's not a diamond. It's just a rock with glitter glued to it.
Right.
But so this Sunday at Living Church, I'm speaking on favor.
Yeah.
Favor. And so I've been reading through all these Bible stories of when God had favor on someone, which all favor is taking them from where they are to more.
Right.
And do you know what as you were talking, it made me think that favor, God's favor, it takes time.
Yeah.
So like Joseph.
Right.
It took time in Potiphar's house.
Right.
Before he was put in command. It took time for him in the prison to gain favor with the jailer. It takes time. Now there's moments where God's
we have
favor,
moments of favor, right? Where doors open that
but
they
suddenly
shouldn't, all of a
something
sudden,
happened.
right.
But
most of life,
Moses was in Midian for 40 years. Like David was watching sheep for the majority of his life.
Right.
Like favor, it takes time to develop, and I think that if we could just be patient and like stay in that job, stay in that profession, stay with that wife.
No, come on.
Stay with that husband.
Right.
Stay at that church. Man alive.
Oh man.
People, they leave churches for such silly, minuscule reasons that they're giving up so much community.
Right.
They're just giving up friendship.
Right.
We just had some people leave over the most ridiculous reason that has such
short-sightedness, right?
That they gave up so many things.
Right.
They gave up opportunity and influence. They gave up friendship and community because of something that was not even from leadership.
No, right.
And they just left. And it's going to hurt them. It's going to hurt their kids.
Man.
And in the long run, they're going to look back and they're going to be full of regret.
Yeah. Yeah.
It has nothing to do with me. It has everything to do with like God had them planted.
Yeah.
And if we could just be patient.
No, the verse we use a lot is being planted in the house of the Lord is a verse we talk about it a lot in context to kids. But the truth is,
those that be planted in the house of
the Lord will flourish.
Yeah.
But it takes a long time. There's a tree in my yard that fell a couple years ago due to a lightning strike, all the things. But that tree was over 120 years old.
Yeah.
It had been in the ground. It was huge. It was the biggest tree in the neighborhood, but it was also the oldest tree in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
It had been in the same spot growing for years and years. It had deep roots. It took us forever to clean it up because of how deep and long the roots ran. And we want to be a mighty oak tomorrow.
Yeah.
But we can't. It's not possible.
Yeah. I wear this necklace all the time. It's got an acorn on it. It's not a bullet. Sometimes people will be like, that dude got a bullet on his necklace? Like, no.
Which would also be appropriate. Though.
Well, yeah, that's a little intense. But it's the idea that like, if we could just stay where we are, if we could just stay planted, then we could grow. So I was a youth pastor at a great big church before we planted Living Church. Mm-hmm. Like great big, their main auditorium sat over 10,000 people in one service. And so I'm a youth pastor there, and the founding pastor, the lead pastor of that church, started it at that point 25 years prior to me getting there. And he was in his late 60s when I showed up as youth pastor. And I remember hearing him tell stories about what the church was like in the beginning.
Yeah.
That he started in his living room, and then he moved to a hotel. Then they got a tiny little building, and then they got a bigger building, and then they built a bigger building, and then they built the mega campus that I was at. And there were 2 campuses, and they had like a giant homeless shelter in downtown that like did like literally incredible things. Like thousands of people were having life change there. And I remember just sitting there week after week for years as a youth pastor, hearing him reference the early days and like the middle days and then where they were, and realizing what would happen if someone would just dedicate their life to a place.
Right.
What would happen if a man would give his life to a city? What could actually happen with my life? Like, this man has left a legacy of influence at this incredible church.
Right.
And I think that we won't be patient. We just want to microwave the thing. And then on the other side, I've heard pastors say, like, you know, if we're not running 1,000 in 3 years,
I'm out. Yeah.
If we don't reach this goal by this time, I'm leaving because I'm better than this small thing.
No, you're not.
But if you think that you're better for the small thing, God won't trust you with the big thing.
No, it's true.
And so if we can...
Yeah, but building something and working somewhere are totally different things.
Building something and just taking something over that's already built is very different.
They're totally different things. And so
you've got to ask, what kind of person are you?
Yeah. If you're not a builder, then okay, it's not the right place for you. But keep going. Sorry.
No, we want the prestige and we want the title, but we don't want to eat the crap.
No.
We don't want to do the dirty job.
So in those stories that you're listening to, he's not telling you every detail of the day of how hard it was.
Yeah.
The day of going from his home to the little place they rented.
Yeah.
Like, he's telling you it was hard.
Yeah.
But he's not telling you the nitty-gritty story. He can't tell you all of them. There's no way to put into perspective and context each little minute moment. And what happens is we face these adversity moments. We face these like precipice, step into more moments, and it is hard. And we think, well, that's not what they did. Look what they did. It just happened for them. No, it didn't.
Right.
There were steps that you didn't see. And we get to it and we're like, never mind, I eject because it's hard and because it's difficult and because we feel like we're the only ones. But the truth is, anybody who's gotten into more, whether fast or slow, has had to make some giant leaps and some giant decisions, hard ones, that we may never know fully and fully understand. And so we just have to recognize that our story is our story. Yeah. Somebody else's story is their story. And we can't compare it. Yeah. We just have to say, are we doing better than we were yesterday? Yeah. Then let's keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're in competition with who we were yesterday, not with anybody else.
But I think that's what happens.
But getting over and fighting that microwave mentality is the only way that we can step into more. I remember I got my first salary, full-time job at a church. So I had moved across the country, went to Bible college, pursued this call to ministry, and was coming on as an assistant youth pastor at a church. But the only way that the church could afford to pay me is they gave me 3 jobs. So I was the assistant youth pastor, which meant I was working full-time for the youth department, but I was also the transporter. Now, they called me the courier, but I called myself the transporter because there's a Jason Statham movie that came out.
I wonder why people think you wear a bullet around your neck.
Back then. And so they had 2 campuses, and this is I would drive back and forth between the campuses 2 times a day to take inter-office mail. Yeah. This is before
Email
the boom of technology and all the things. So I had to drive back and forth, and I did sanctuary chairs. And so twice a week I had to take out 1,000 chairs, and I had to put in 1,000 chairs. Right. And so in one hand, I was in this big place doing this big thing, but then the other hand, I was doing these horrible jobs that I was bigger than.
Right.
I felt that I was smarter than moving sanctuary chairs. Right. But yet that was where God had planted me and what I had to do. Yep. And I was so frustrated. I remember there was a day that I was in there moving the sanctuary chairs. And have I already told the story?
I don't know.
And so when the church ordered these chairs, they only got pockets for offering envelopes and stuff.
For every other one
for every third chair. And so I had to set the chairs out, and it was hard because you had to put 2 without a pocket and 1 with a pocket, and it just took forever. My shoulders were tired from lifting these chairs up. And one day an older pastor walk through the church, and I started complaining to him. It's like, man, how much did it cost extra to just buy all the chairs with the pockets on them? I'm so mad. Yeah. And he said, hey, Truston, if they would have ordered the chairs that you wish they would have ordered, you wouldn't have a job right now.
Right.
And I was like, you're right. thank you, because I would much rather be doing this than selling tires,
Right.
or selling sneakers,
Oh,
or
true.
doing some other job.
Right.
But that was a microwave. That was a crock pot season. This is not my calling.
Right.
But it led to my calling.
And the giftings you learned there are the things you even still use today.
Oh, for
so like
sure.
my kids get frustrated at school and stuff that they're learning, and other than algebra, because like why is there letters in the middle of numbers? There are so many things they're learning in school that they're going to use every day of their life.
Yeah.
Like you learned. They're going to argue with me, but it's true. You learned things in those setting up chairs that you still use today.
Yeah.
About keeping things straight and about structure and about things, the way things should work. You in that courier moment grew so much because what? You had to talk to a secretary lady.
No, I talked to everybody.
And then you had had to walk through, pick up
Yeah.
the pieces, put it together.
I learned, we talked about the last one. I was exposed
right.
to so many things, and I understood now what the ministry was.
Right.
Because the ministry is not preaching.
No.
Because if someone would have not sat those chairs up, you can't have church. So like, yeah, my job was not glamorous and visible, but if I hadn't done it, it doesn't matter how good the pastor's about to preach on Sunday
Right.
if there's no chairs down.
Right.
And so now that I am in the position that I am as a lead guy with 1,000 chairs,
Right.
I value the people setting the chairs up.
No, absolutely.
I value the people in the trailer, in the storage room, and at the keyboard, and running to get water bottles and snacks, because I have a deep understanding
right.
that if it were not for those things, what I was called to do can't happen.
Yeah. And on the other side of it, you learned things that are skills for negotiation, for conversation, that you now use today because you were in rooms, like it or not, when we are in these slow crockpot moments, we find ourselves in rooms where conversations are happening that we might have never gotten to be a part of
Yeah.
if we hadn't been in those. And those things all build upon each other. And the Bible says not to despise the days of small beginnings. And we often look at our season and think, well, it's just so small. There's nothing really I'm going to even learn here.
Yeah.
But the truth is, if we'll absorb all of those things, we can take them in. We've talked about it before. I was worked at a dentist office and oversaw the offices there, and like so much of just what I learned not even what I learned tactically in my job, but also what I learned relationally with people and with
Yeah.
dealing with all kinds of different personalities and different patients who would come in who were frustrated or upset, or talk about dealing with people who are upset. That's what we do in the church
Yeah.
all the time. There was so much that I did absorb, but it was only because I was willing to, because I wasn't like, hey, I got to microwave through this. Let me just get through it.
Yeah.
But instead it was like, let's learn here. What can I take with me? And we have to decide in those moments, not just, I want to rush and eject, but maybe you're not ejecting, but you're not absorbing everything where you are.
Wow.
Maybe you're just like, oh, well, I'm just gritting and bearing it. Instead of going, no, I'm going to learn
While I'm
from
here,
these people while I'm here.
learn.
I'm going to ask questions to these leaders, respect them or not, think they're the best or not.
Yeah.
They still have more experience in something than I have.
Yeah.
There were people that I've worked with along the way that I was like, I'm a much better leader than them.
Well, you can learn how to do it, or one of the greatest lessons I've learned is how not to do it.
Right. No,
Man,
right.
there might be no better lesson than learning how not to do it. So
Absolutely.
if you're working for someone who hasn't valued you, or who has hurt you or treated you poorly, or you've been lied to or manipulated or abandoned or whatever, we can learn a lot from those things.
A lot.
And make a decision to not do that.
Right.
To not be that way.
Yeah. But it's our mentality of like seeing our life in the crock pot and deciding that that's how we want to be cooked.
Yeah. I thought about, I thought about this story of David. So David is this little shepherd boy. And his first connection with King Saul, the king, is he got brought in to play the harp.
Right.
This is a dude who, his dad's not the king. He don't
Right.
know nothing about being a king.
No.
But he's in the king's quarters playing the harp.
Right.
And I've got to imagine that while he was there playing the harp, because they didn't have like a boombox, they didn't have a jam pill, or
They have a JBL.
yeah, they didn't have
They
they didn't have
turn
none of that. So they just had a dude named David playing the harp in the corner
Yeah.
for ambiance music.
Right.
But I've got to imagine that while Dave was there listening and watching the king have meetings and interactions, dude, he was being exposed and
exposed to
learning
so
a
much.
lot.
Yeah.
And so like while I was moving chairs and while you were selling
Yeah.
perfume and dental procedures,
Right.
we were also seeing a lot and
Yeah.
learning a lot of things.
So many
and
things.
so like our interns here at Living Church, they're great. We've been in this series called Marriage Rescue.
Yeah.
And so every week we have a skit and then couches
Yep.
and then a bunch of props.
Right.
And so these interns are back there moving furniture and carrying rugs and couches and tables and like lots of stuff every single week. And yeah, what they're doing is carrying objects.
Right.
But what they're actually getting is the behind the scene perspective.
Right.
What they're getting is understanding how the structure of a service works.
They're
They're
literally-
understanding listening to cues.
Right.
They're working with the worship team and the pastor.
Right. I was going to say they're literally in the Q2Q with us when you and I are like, actually, let's shift it. Let's do it like
Right.
this. And here's why. And da-da-da. And they're learning.
But some of them are talking and goofing around,
No, you're right.
and some of them are learning.
Yep. You can tell which ones.
Yep.
Because they get it and they see it and they're absorbing it. And that's, man, if you want to go into more, we've talked about it all the time that you have to be constantly learning. But if we get frustrated where we are, we stop.
Don't throw your calling into the microwave. Like you were
No.
talking about pizza. Or maybe I was thinking about pizza.
No, I said pizza.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I was like, it's 12 o'clock. You can reheat pizza in the
Right.
microwave,
You can.
or you can take 15 minutes
Yep.
and put it back in the oven
Yep.
and heat it up so it's crispy.
Yep.
Where do you want to put your calling?
It's super good.
Where do you want to put your slice of pizza?
Right.
You can put it in the microwave.
Right.
And you can eat it. And you
And
can
it'll be
probably,
fine.
it'll be fine. You will not
It'll be
die.
fine.
Or you can take the time to crisp that thing up.
No.
You can take the time. And so you just have to ask yourself, what do you want to do with your call?
Right.
What do you want to do? You can jump from thing to thing to thing to thing, and you can pay your bills, and you can probably accomplish some stuff.
Right. But we
But
talked.
like, what do you want?
No, and we talked about it in the mentality of more of like, yeah, what we want, we have to trust that God is He's the one taking us there. That if we could do it on our own, then it's not that great. It's not
Yeah.
that much more. And if we really trust that He's the one taking us there, then it doesn't matter how much time it takes to get there because His time is outside our time.
Yeah.
And so what are we so in a rush for?
Yeah.
Like He's going to get us where we're supposed to go when we're supposed to get there, as long as we keep learning and tugging and fighting.
I wrote a line this morning for the message I'm about to preach.
You got to give it to us.
yeah.
Except this will air after. So
Yeah,
there's not-
I'll give it to you now. I'm gonna say, one touch of favor is better than a lifetime of labor.
It's true, man. It's good. That's great. It's true.
And like, but if we're unwilling to do the labor, we
Right.
never get to the moment of favor.
Right.
And so,
No, it's yeah.
man, stay in the oven.
No, stay there.
So, okay. The antithesis of this, the other side of the coin, is sometimes it is time to eject. Sometimes it is.
Yeah.
It is ready to move. Sometimes you shouldn't just keep being faithful if you're just in the wrong place.
Right.
And so, we've got to be hearing from God.
Oh, 100.
We've got to listen to what God would say so that we know what he has. We did a whole series here at Living Church called How to Hear from God.
Yeah.
What are some things that somebody should be
right.
running through if they're about to make a change?
No, it's what you just said. You have to actually ask God, like, hey, am I where I'm supposed to be? And should I make a change? Is this based in my emotion, my hurt, my frustration, or is this based in what you're actually tugging me to?
Yeah.
We blame God on all kind of things all the time, and that's not fair.
Yeah.
Poor God. So is it really Him speaking, or is it bad pizza, or is it me being frustrated,
Or is it me
being impatient?
being impatient?
And so, like, if you've done what you know you're supposed to do, and you've done all that you can there, and the right opportunity is in front of you, then sometimes it's right to jump. But you got to ask, and then you got to ask some people around you. If you have real people around you who love you and are for you and support you, then they know whether you should jump or not.
Yeah.
I remember a season where I was even hurt in a moment, and I remember meeting with Rachel and being like, what do I do? Because these people are never going to see who I am or what I have to offer or what God really has for me, and I don't really know, and I'm bugged and I'm frustrated, but it was really more about my hurt and my confusion. And I remember her being like, listen, that's who they are, but that doesn't mean God's going to keep you from what He has for you here because of them. That's not going to happen. And so we have to determine, is my promotion coming from God or man? Okay, I know it comes from God. Well, then is this a God moment, or is this just a good moment? Is this a God opportunity, or is this just a good opportunity? And we just have to, it's really about diligence to really pray, seek the Holy Spirit, and get out of our own way.
Yeah.
It's our own way. Is this what I think will get me there faster? Or is this what I know is the next right step?
Yeah.
And those are the pieces that it's hard to know for sure.
Yeah.
But if we're consistent to pray, to read his word, to put ourselves in the right environment, to really allow ourselves to be sharpened by friends and people. Because in that season, I was ready to eject, and it wasn't the right moment to eject at all. And her willingness to just say, hey, this is about them, not about you, not about really even what God is saying, just about their hurt and their pain. Just be still and let God work it out. And he did. And that is not always possible where we are. And so there's got to be somebody in your life that you trust enough to say, hey, let me give you this scenario.
Yeah.
And see how it works. Yeah.
No, it's really good.
What else?
No, I thought, that's I want to respond to that, but you
Go.
encapsulated it really well.
No, yeah.
Of that, get some advice, get some wisdom.
Yeah.
And then look at your track record.
Oh, that's super good.
So
No, that's super good.
if,
Because I'm a stayer in life.
Yeah, I'm a stayer in life too. I'm
And so
faithful. I'm
already
faithful
am.
to a fault.
And
sometimes.
so sometimes, that other season when I did need to eject,
Yeah.
I came to y'all and I was like, this is frustrating. And they're like, this is not the right, you guys were like, this is not the right place for
Yeah.
you. You need to eject. You got to have that. Go.
We in the past have, as we've been looking for staff,
Yeah.
people send their resumes and we'll look at their resumes, and they will have been at 9 churches in the last 6 years.
Yep. That can't be every church's fault.
Yeah. And I'm saying we have to look at our track record.
Right.
If you've worked at every fast food joint in town and they're all idiots, maybe there's a common denominator, and the common denominator is you. And
them,
so
yeah.
how have you been
Right.
at staying planted somewhere?
Right.
And if you have not been good at staying planted, maybe you just need to say, hey, God, I'm going to stay here for another year.
Right.
I think of a girl who she was here and really connected, and we were on the verge of offering this girl a job.
Yeah.
And then she left to go to some other thing.
Place, yeah.
And she was there for a couple of years, and then she came back with nothing.
Yeah.
Because she didn't like that. And then now she's back here, and then she's here and connected, and now she's just gone to go somewhere else. And we've seen this a dozen times of people that they're like a flea. They just jump from this dog to that dog, and they're just hopping around town. If you would have just the flea analogy doesn't work very well. But yeah, if you would have just stayed
with the same dog.
Man, if you'd have just stayed where you were,
Right.
you would have advanced so much.
Yeah. No, it's true.
But we just jump from idea to idea to job to bed to bed to girlfriend.
It's true, man.
We just jump from thing to thing to thing because we want to microwave it. Let me tell you something. If you're a single guy, you're never going to get a Whitney or a Rachel if you just jump in from chick to chick.
No, it's true. Right. That's crazy.
You're not going to get a good man.
No.
If you just keep running from man to man.
Right. No, right.
No, I'm not. I am a much better husband now than I was when I first got married. But Rachel stayed with me.
Right.
She knew that she was not in this for the microwave.
Right.
That I had to. She had to stay in the oven. I had to stay in the oven.
Yeah, exactly.
Slow.
No, it's slow, but it's good at the end. And so, no, I think it's a great, important conversation.
I have one more really important question.
Oh, okay.
It's 12:15. Where are we going to lunch?
Oh, we better go.
Because we talking about pasta. We talking about pizzas and ovens and microwaves.
Let's go. Yeah.
Let's do it, guys.
Love y'all.
Love y'all. Can't believe that we get to do this.
I know, it's the best.
We're big fans. We want to hear what God's doing in your life.
That's right.
So as testimonies come in, share them with us.
Yep.
We want you to ask questions, but even more, tell us the goodness of what God's doing.
That's right.
Love y'all.
Have a good one.